Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
And we are back with another exciting episode of the Dark and Stormy Nights. This is Loki.
And this is Tyr.
And today we are plotting Chapter 9.
Correct.
Wonderful. All right, we got a couple ideas. We're not really solid on this one, but I like what you were thinking. You wanna tell them what you were thinking?
Well, I just think that we're going to start with your lead up from last chapter was that the news aired a story about the asylum, the Ohio asylum, and a haunting, a ghost sighting or whatever. It was like a tour that freaked everybody out.
Right.
And so at this point, I'm thinking that the chapter picks up where Gary is done leading the Fristburger away. Okay, so maybe he comes back in to tell them, okay, coast is clear, and now there's another news story, a breaking news, and now it seems like this ghost has escaped the asylum.
Right, which isn't normal.
Not normal. So right off the rip, maybe Elliot's kind of like, what the fuck, you know? And Leah's like, well, that's not right. You know,
right.
Like it shouldn't be able to leave. It shouldn't manifest in front of humans and like this kind of thing, you know. Unless they're sensitives, they really shouldn't be able to see it.
Right. A normal person can't just see a ghost.
Mm-hmm. And a normal ghost can't leave the thing that it's stuck to.
Right, yeah, that is definitely odd.
So he knows that like something's not right about it, but he doesn't link it back to the Bodak at this point. So I'm thinking that at this point they're still in the strip club. And it's going to be a matter of, look, I've got enough shit going on. I don't need to deal with that right now. I've got to deal with this first. And he's got to go talk to Nigel to have that conversation that they didn't get to have.
Right.
And so I think that that's where we're at, is that, like, it's breaking news. This thing has escaped. It's scaring people and whatever. And Lee's just, like, one thing at a fucking time, you know? And he's going to go talk to Nigel and discuss the Bodak. And we still have some tensions between Nigel and Lee at this point, I think. There's, like, this unresolved trust issue between them, you know? Because Nigel kind of hid what happened with the Fae children. Lee's feeling a little bitter about the fact that he's working for people who are sort of deserving,
right?
You know, of the things that are coming at them right now. And so we're going to have this ghost kind of making its way closer and closer to its ultimate target.
Sure.
And I think that by the time that they walk into the Huntsman, Nigel has already seen the news and is like, I got another job for you. Right?
Right.
So I think that's kind of where we left off.
Well, there's definitely, yeah. But I don't know. Do we have them put things together, right? Do we have them put two and two together that a ghost should not be able to leave its
I think
its
they
haunt.
absolutely know that the ghost is being empowered by something.
And then
it's being...
the Bodak is able to manipulate the undead.
That's the thing that we haven't connected. So far, Nigel wouldn't know about that.
But
so
Lee
right
just
now,
heard about it from Penny.
Right. So Lee has the information about the Bodak. Nigel only knows that there's a sorcerer who's very worried about this particular ghost that has gotten loose.
Right.
Right?
He might have even gotten a call, handle this shit. You know what I'm saying?
So Nigel's job is to make sure that somebody is protecting this sorcerer because they recognize this ghost.
Don't you think there'd be a wait a minute moment, you know what I'm saying, where Lee hears that this is a bad thing for a sorcerer. The others were bad things for sorcerers. It's like, this is too coincidental.
And that's the thing that's supposed to tie this together, is right now we had to get rid of our Fae children because it's not about the Fae children.
Right.
That was the motive. That was the rumor that was, supposed to affect all of the other,
Right.
and make them realize that, look, the Combine's not good. They've done this to them,
Right.
And it's supposed to have that kind of an effect. But at the same time, it's really not about those Fey children. This is a whole different victim of the sorcerers. It's about the sorcerers.
Right.
You know, so it's somebody trying to dig up the skeletons in their closet and expose them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, undermine their power.
Right. And so Nigel doesn't have the information about the Bodak because he was interrupted in their conversation. And then Lee doesn't have the information about the motive of this ghost, but Nigel has that. So that's what we need to figure out. Is this conversation between Lee and Nigel going to start connecting those dots?
Right.
And that's why the status of their relationship is kind of called into question here. There's broken trust between them. Are we mending that here? Are we having them share their information? Has Lee forgiven Nigel for lying to him, for covering for the sorcerers? Are they going to come together and share their two sides of the story here?
I mean,
Is Nigel going to, in good faith, tell Lee, look, this is what happened with this woman?
in the end, though, if Lee can secure this, win the day, and buy his freedom, does he need to trust Nigel anymore? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's his end goal. He thinks he's going to come out of this
That's all well and good,
victorious.
but he needs Nigel's information right now.
No,
And here's the thing: is I think he's going to be resistant to protecting this sorcerer. He's got this Bodak to deal with. This is his job. This is the one that's going to pay him off. Why would he switch over to this ghost?
That's what I'm saying. Is I think he needs to be. He might need to be convinced that this is the same case.
I agree with you. And so I'm saying that there's going to be more tension between Lee and Nigel at first. And he's going to be like, no, I'm not working that case. This is the one with the big payout. I'm working this case. Fuck you and your sorcerer who needs protected. And first of all, they've already lost a bunch of bounty hunters.
Right.
Second of all, Nigel seems to have this trust in Lee that he can handle shit, right?
Right. Which is why he's
Also-
hesitant to let that contract go.
Right. So so I think that it's going to be a matter of Nigel's going to have to level with him. He's going to have to come to Lee, you know, not
Yeah.
vice versa. So it's going to be a matter of Nigel's going to be like, look, this is what's going on. This isn't a matter of, you know, this is just another haunting. This job is to protect a sorcerer in the Combine. And I think he's going to have to open up and tell Lee the story of this sorcerer's wife who was in the asylum.
Right.
And so that's probably going to piss Lee off again, but at least he got the truth out of Nigel.
But then I do feel like Lee is the kind of person to be like, why am I going to protect this guy from his past?
Right, but
Why-
I also think that Lee is going to make the connection at this point that it's the Bodak.
But yeah, for any other reason, you know what I'm saying?
Right, if it was anything else, if it wasn't part of his existing payoff,
Right.
you know, he would have been like, then fuck that guy,
Yeah.
he deserves it.
Right.
But he's going to get the story from Nigel and be like, son of a bitch, you know,
Right.
and draw the line.
That's what I'm saying. You have to put two and two together in front of the
exactly.
reader.
But I think it's going to be Nigel that has to give in this situation first.
Do you think
know?
that Nigel would play it hesitant to give up the information, though?
I think that he's not supposed to give up the information, but if he wants Lee to cooperate, he realizes he's got to give something here.
Yeah.
It's the ball's in his court. If he wants Lee to cooperate, if he wants Lee's help, if he wants Lee to help protect the sorcerer, he's got to give.
What this feels like is the CIA agent and handler relationship. Where the
Yes.
handler's always lying to the agent and stuff like that.
Right.
And not giving him the full story, but putting him in danger at the same time.
Right.
So
Right, exactly. And the thing is that Nigel kept Lee in the dark in the past. You know,
Right.
he didn't tell him about what was going on with these kids. Lee feels betrayed,
Right.
you know?
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so. And then Nigel gave him the brush off, and he tried to give him the runaround when it came time to, these fucking sorcerers deserve this, you
Right,
know?
yeah, in the end. But, you know, that's
And
the
so
thing.
that's why I think it's up to Nigel to take that step forward, to be like, okay, fine, here's the truth, you know?
Right.
And that's got to happen in order for Lee to make that connection.
But, yeah, so in the end, it comes down to save a bunch of scummy sorcerers to get my freedom,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, keep my integrity intact and still be a servant.
Right, and I feel like Lee is still going to be like, who the fuck am I protecting here, you know? And it's still going to be a matter of, you know, Nigel saying it was a different time. I wasn't involved in the Combine at the time. You know, all I can tell you is, you know, it's better that they're here, you know, that they're in place as it is. Without them, there would be chaos. You know,
Right.
it's not a matter of, well, these are the good guys. It's a matter of, with a vacuum of this power, things would be much worse.
Right.
You know? So, because it is kind of a gray area.
Yeah, I just think that this might be the place where, if future books were to happen, the authority of the Combine might be permanently called into question by the people working for them.
See, and that's going to be the thing that is really a factor down the line, is does this stuff get exposed?
Right.
You know, is the knowledge of this going to go into the super communities?
It's not like there's an authority above them. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? All they have is the authority they have over the people below them that work for them, that uphold their organization.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have people who trust in them anymore that are willing to work with them? You know? So,
And they just lost half their bounty hunters. But yeah, I mean, as long as they're
this,
offering
this
money.
chapter did, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as they're offering money, there's always going to be people willing to work for them.
Oh, sure. There's people who don't require integrity in their bosses, and that's
Exactly.
So
So as long as they have enough cash, yeah, they're
Right.
always going to have people working for them.
yeah, and I'm sure it's one of the first things they learn as sorcerers is how to make cash. So
Oh, for sure. I mean, and they're basically immortal, so they've been collecting money for God knows how long.
right.
So, okay, so I mean, then how far do we want to take this haunting? I definitely think there needs to be some kind of interaction. Maybe Lee and Elliot try to head this thing off before it gets to the sorcerer.
Right.
You know, and we talked about it being like stuck in a loop of, you know, being betrayed by her husband.
So things made of pure energy, I'm assuming, right, as like a poltergeist-like figure.
I don't know. We have to kind of decide like what the Bodak, how the Bodak has affected it, you know, and made it manifest.
I think he supercharged it.
Right.
You know, so and that's the thing. So it's put so much power into her that it's now visible to human eyes. And it's probably like radiating spirit energy, you know, which I don't see much different than like raw, like power,
Okay.
you know. So it's probably like sparking when it comes in contact with things like light bulbs, and like it's probably blowing lights out and stuff like that because of all the power. Maybe even trying to drain,
Oh yeah.
you know, any outlet of energy.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Like causing blackouts and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to
and like
follow.
busting all of their magic street lights and stuff.
Oh, even worse.
like
So
ruining
she's-
their their
charm,
glamours.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and not necessarily on purpose. It's just drawing as much
Yeah,
energy
it's
as
just
it can.
wreaking havoc.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, this is causing all kinds of problems. There's probably like fucking crews out there fixing stuff as fast as they can.
Right. And like as she could just like walk down the street and be exposing other.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So it's not just her, but I mean it's her causing it. But
Right.
you know,
Yeah, that's interesting. That's good imagery. I like it. I don't know if I can quite pull it off, but I will try.
yeah. I mean, just imagine that she's like a human-looking ball of energy that's just sucking more energy.
No, but I like I've seen like several like scary movies where they have it where like the ghost almost like flickers in and
Yeah.
out, you know, and I love those.
yeah,
It
like,
kind of like
it's glitchy.
yeah, and it's fucking creepy as fuck. So yeah, like I
Well,
kind
that's
of
good
like
though
it.
that the lights
but
might be
then-
causing that though, because like before she bursts them, she is like normal almost, you know, and then
Oh
she
yes,
bursts
yes, good
lights and
call.
then
As soon as the light
glitches.
goes out, she's glitching again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And then like we said, stuck in a loop. So we need some like phrases and stuff that she's like stuck in the moments before her
well,
death.
I mean, yeah,
and
think about it.
you
She's
did this
questioning
to me,
why
you
he
caused
betrayed her,
this,
why
yes.
he turned, sent her to the reformatory, locked her up. I'm not crazy, you know. I've done nothing wrong, you know. Why have you betrayed me?
Right,
you know?
right, stuff like that. So okay, let's see. Okay, so we have that Lee made the connection between the case and the Bodak, and that's why he's willing to work it. Do we want the ghost to like go past the huntsman, or do you want Elliot and Lee to like try to head it off, or try to get to the sorcerer first?
I'm thinking more.
and
That's
they
what it is.
see
It's
it?
making a diagonal towards its object, and then they're trying to go like straight down this road to get to it before it can get there, and maybe it beats them. You know, like it gets through that intersection that they think they're going to head it off at or whatever before they do, and they have to chase it down the street, and they can like see this like I don't know, green foggy storm or something like that ahead of them.
Okay, so Lee and Elliot like meet it in the street.
So yeah, I'm thinking. Okay, I don't know if you watch much anime, like I do, but there's
Little bit.
like I've seen. You ever see where the bad guys like battling in reverse? So they're leaping backwards as the, or even the good guy when he's overpowered or whatever like that. But they're like leaping backwards as the enemy advances towards them or whatever. And so Lee and Elliot and whoever's with them, maybe Gary's with them or whatever, and they're fucking like using anything they've got on them, right, to
Right.
shoot at this thing and everything, and it's dodging them, and or some of the stuff's just having no effect.
Just passing right through it.
But it keeps moving backwards towards the goal.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Towards
right.
the sorcerer.
Yeah, they're not stopping it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
As it fights back. So it's like it'll launch like a entropic energy beam at them or something like that. And
What if we have another bounty hunter show up and she stops his heart or something? You know, because she's just like supercharged.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
You know, like he stands in her path, like he's gonna fucking
Well,
stop her physically,
Look,
and she
what's
just
stopping any of these
brushes
bounty
right through
hunters from
him.
waiting just beyond the, just out of sight to watch what happens with Lee because they know he knows something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I don't think Raina would get involved even
No,
if she was watching.
Raina wouldn't get involved.
So she, she'll wait this one out. She'll watch others do it.
Well, she's
Or
the
maybe-
one who's caused it. So
Maybe she'll tip off other bounty hunters to follow them. Just to.
yeah, maybe.
So.
Okay, so so basically, nothing they're doing has any effect. I think it's definitely going to have to take place at like they keep getting backed up and backed up and backed up until they have to hop in their car and like race to the sorcerer, to protect him.
Yeah.
Right? Like we probably want this to end at a head at the sorcerer's place.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things might be having a little effect, but not enough. Like maybe the shotguns full of salt pellets are doing something. Like it's causing her to fritz out.
It makes her disappear momentarily,
Yeah,
but
but
she'll
then she
show
comes
up
back.
like 10 feet down the road or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's having a little effect, but
Right.
not enough. And maybe that's
Or
what,
iron or whatever.
and it leads them to come up with the better weapon, right?
Or it leads them to try to find another plan, some way to trap it or something. Salt and iron or something, they're going to trap it in a cage. Oh, that'll give her time to have a conversation with the sorcerer. They trap it there or whatever, and something happens, like the Bodak ups the breeze and the salt brushes away and lets her free, or something like that,
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the sorcerer has like scratch marks down his face and like he's bleeding and stuff like that. So how are we going to kill it?
Well, it depends on what you decide is the ultimate weapon. Like I used to have a salt block for cooking steak on or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and so I was thinking Elliot might be able to crack it in the head with the salt block because it's solid to it or something. Like I'm not saying that that's enough to finish it off, but if salt pellets do a little bit of damage, imagine what a big block of salt does when you hit something supernatural. Or iron weakens Fae, but not necessarily.
I've seen iron for ghosts too.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, whatever you decide. Then he could have the guns with the old iron bullets or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't get rid of them completely though.
Right.
Like it just like the salt,
So,
it
yeah.
stops them, but they'll reform
You
eventually.
need something. Or it's energy. So you need something to drain its energy.
Right.
So, that's the thing. I mean, you're killing it that way, if you dissipate all of its energy. Grounding it, maybe?
Maybe bringing it forth the rest of the way. Maybe the Bodak solidifies it so it can walk right through their trap, their ghost trap. Do you think that's possible?
But then it by solidifying it, you make it killable?
It makes it, it gives it a weakness. No,
You know what would be
do
shitty?
you think that's beyond the
No,
Bodak's
you
capability?
you could have something that it makes the story unsatisfying in just that way, right? It solidifies it, and the sorcerer finishes
that's
her
what I was
off.
thinking too. The sorcerer ends up.
But you already
killing
don't
her.
like him. He's
Right,
already a
he's
dick,
a piece of shit.
right? And you have everybody look at him like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you think that's too far fetched for the Bodak to
No.
be able to do?
No. Well, I mean, I don't think she's alive.
She's not alive.
Right?
I'm
she's just
saying
her
that-
ectoplasm is like solid or whatever.
Right. I'm saying that she's trapped in a ghost trap. Salt, iron, whatever it is. They're like, okay, we got her trapped. Now how do we get rid of her?
Right.
And in order to let her loose, the Bodak makes her
Corporeal.
Thank you. And then she just steps right over it. And then it's like a fight like, okay, well now we can kill her.
Yeah, but they think they're doing something, right?
Or maybe like
And
they're researching in another room of the sorcerer's house, and he's sitting there mocking her or whatever, and the Bodak makes her solid. And so then she steps right out, and the two of them are grappling. By the time Elliot and Lee hear what's going on, they race there, and the sorcerer kills her.
Right.
That's not a bad way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, at least then Elliot and Lee don't have to kill an innocent woman.
I don't think they necessarily...
She's already dead, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, Elliot might even make mention of wanting to put her to peace, you know,
right.
instead of...
I agree. They're looking for some way to have her have her move on.
Right.
Right? So maybe they're like in the sorcerer's library looking for some way to make that happen. And that's when the Bodak's like, hey, perfect opportunity. He's unprotected. All he has to do is solidify this ghost.
Right, but what from there? Do we show contact with the Bodak? Do we try to fight with the Bodak again? Does he get away?
I don't think so. I think maybe Lee sees it out the window or something. Or the sorcerer got a glimpse of it and they go running outside and they can't find it, just like at the beach.
Right.
You
Gets
know?
away again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to take on...
Some glimpse of it, but not necessarily
But now
like
we're on a rhythm, right? So we know that from there... it's going to get something else.
Right, and you know that it's the Bodak and the sorcerers are the
So
connection. The
now-
Bodak is coming after the sorcerers.
So now Lee has got to get all the sorcerers to expose their own crimes. What could be coming after you next?
Mm-hmm.
So, because we know that's what it is.
Right. Okay, so where do we want to end this?
Well, that's the question, right? I think that maybe they might go after the Bodak, but yeah, I don't think it's very long lived. I think once its tool is destroyed, it
There's
takes
no
off.
point in him being there.
Right. So that's probably, maybe somebody notices it and it vanishes. I'm not even sure they get a chance to throw anything at it, or maybe somebody injures it real, but just a little bit.
So you think somebody should catch it to
I'm
hurt
saying-
it? You think you
well-
should shoot it?
I was thinking that the the sorcerer runs the poltergeist through with like some kind of weapon, right? Like maybe one of his
I
staffs.
think he should. Yeah, he should find some way to violently hurt
and
her.
then
yes.
he sees the Bodak and chucks like a spear, like throws it at the Bodak and just like nicks him, and it disappears.
Okay. Do you want any kind of evidence left behind from that?
Maybe a spray of black ooze or something like that. I don't know.
Something they can do something with, though, or
Maybe they
okay.
can
And do we
analyze it.
need any lead up into following chapters?
Well, I think the next step after this chapter would be Lee says, oh, I need to know your crimes so I know how to defend you idiots.
Mm-hmm.
What fucked up shit have you all done so I know who's coming for you next.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily need any lead up. It just the Bodak sighting would be the lead up because it's proving the connection.
Right. And so now he knows that the Bodak is using the crimes of the Combine to take out the Combine.
Okay. Did we discuss any future crimes of the Combine that we want to address? I think we did. Witch trials or something.
Yeah, we talked about like 3 burned witches going after a few members of the Combine.
Right. So we're about a third of the way through the book, maybe a little more. And we have taken out 2 of their weapons.
Right. I thought after the third one, or during the third one, is where we either...
At some point, we've got to expose the fact that the Bodak is not working independently.
Right.
But I think that's further down the road, past the halfway point.
Are we moving too quickly?
I mean, it's very... I feel like we've accomplished a lot.
In a
you
very
know?
short period of time?
Yeah. But it really just depends on... It depends on how much twisting and turning you want to happen between here and where he figures out that it all circles back to Reyna.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll figure it out. we don't really want to slow down the pacing at this point,
Right.
but we do want to determine, how much is it going to take for them to realize that it goes beyond the Bodak?
Right.
And what is it going to take? Like, truly, we don't really know what it's going to be that makes them realize that it's not the Bodak.
Yeah.
That the
I
Bodak
think they have
is
to
the
catch.
weapon.
I think they have to catch Reyna and the Bodak communicating or something like that, or catch the Bodak communicating with something. I don't know. I don't know how we do it.
Yeah, that's going to be the big question for future notes. Is how do we expose the Bodak as having a master?
Right.
Because there's no motive. What is the Bodak's motive for coming after the sorcerers?
Right.
And that's going to be the thing. Is they're going to have to research the Bodak, and they're going to have to see what this thing is after, what its ultimate goal is. And when
Right.
it has nothing that would make it want to take out the sorcerers, it's going to be a matter of who brought this thing, where did it come from, why, you
Right.
know? And so that's what's
Well,
going
if
to
they
be.
kill the Bodak, it may have the contract on it, you know.
Right.
But that still wouldn't tell them it's Reyna. It tells them the name.
Somebody was controlling it.
Well, it tells them maybe the name of the
It would give them
Fomorian,
Annalise.
right.
Yeah.
and then everybody's like, who the fuck is this?
Right.
You know. And then we get into the story of Annalise. What is Annalise? Why is she here? What is it?
That's true. We do have a lot more revealing of her to do. And I honestly don't even know how we're going to do that.
That's going to take a lot of thought.
Is she going to have a backstory with the sorcerers? Did we figure that out? I feel
Well,
like
they
we
drove. Didn't we say they drove her people out?
did. Right.
But she believes she's the rightful ruler of this world, or whatever.
Of this city.
Or yeah, whatever. So
So yeah, we're going to have to expose who she is and her motive and everything as well. Oh, there's a lot to accomplish still.
well, that's
Even
what
if
we're
we are
saying. You're saying
moving
even if
quick.
we're a third way through or something like that, we
Right.
do still have a lot of story to cover.
Right, we do.
So we might eventually have to just write the story of Annalise, you know,
Yeah.
and say that's what gets uncovered. That's what's waiting to be exposed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
In
maybe,
the end, she wants that exposed anyways,
right.
because she believes she's righteous.
She believes she's the heir.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely going to have to find a way to get her story in there, but it's got to be past the point when we're ready to reveal.
Right. Well, I think that we end one of these chapters with who's Annalise. You know what I'm saying? Like they find out about her, who is she? And that's it.
Mhm.
We end with that. And then you start a chapter with Annalise. You know, who Annalise actually is, her story.
Maybe you start with, because didn't we say it almost feels like a different story at that point.
Right.
You're telling a Faye story.
From her side, yes.
Right. And then you come back to the bounty
I've seen a
hunter.
couple movies that way, too,
Yeah.
where you start the whole first part out and you have no idea who the villain is or something
Right.
like that. And then suddenly we start the story from the villain's side.
Right.
And you almost start
And
to
then you're gonna have to tell Annalise's story, and then you're gonna have to merge her and
Yes.
Reyna. You know.
Well, yeah, you'll have to go to. We'll actually have to backstory her to the point, I think, where she takes over Reyna.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe she'd even gotten to Reyna at one time before she decides that she needs to handle it herself or something. You know, I don't know. But
Yeah.
Or maybe she just lures Reyna into a trap and kills her.
Right.
You know.
Or maybe she was Reyna's bounty.
Ooh.
You know.
Not bad. And then that just kind of, you know what? Fuck these people. And she jumps into it.
I'm just saying, Reyna showed up to deal with Annalise, and Annalise it's her perfect opportunity to kill Reyna and take over her life
Right.
undercover as a bounty hunter.
Yeah, because I feel like Annalise at least has a certain amount of natural magic.
Yes, for sure.
So, and maybe in a lot of these Celtic and Norse god figures and stuff like that, a lot of them are shapeshifters.
Right. Okay.
So it might not be.
I mean, yeah, not a glamour, but a shape-shifting kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really up to our lore in the end, because
Right.
they never really explain it in mythology. You know.
Right.
However, when Loki becomes a bird, he can fly. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would
So
assume.
it's a shapeshift.
Yeah. So yeah, It's probably and you gotta figure a sorcerer can probably see through a glamour, so full on shapeshift.
That's true.
A full on shapeshift is probably necessary to fool him.
Yeah, maybe so.
Otherwise, she couldn't have been right under Nigel's nose the whole time.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And Nigel, I think, is gonna kick himself a little bit when he finds out she's been under his nose this whole time.
Right. Like, I think that maybe she would need Raina's actual body in order to have done this, you know? Like, for her, like, maybe shape-shifting isn't just a matter of, well, I just took her form, you know? It's a matter of she needed the body in order to take her.
I've seen a bunch of weird things where they have to, like, stare into your eyes to steal your memories or something like that, or eat pieces of you to stay like you, you know? So
Yeah, or
I
like
mean,
they have to have your DNA in order to
Fomorians
become
are
you.
messed up warrior things, right? I mean, some of them are really, like, weird part fish and shit like that, right?
Mhm.
So it could be any kind of weird magic. Their magic could work all kinds of strange ways.
Okay, that's cool.
So it could be a lot of fun.
Alrighty.
All right, do we have anything else?
I don't think so. I think that we're pretty good where we're at.
Sweet. All right, come follow us at the Dark Stormy K1 on Twitter. Go check out Tier at Nova Drake Writer on Twitter. Also check out Dark and Stormy Night. It's r/Dark and Stormy Nights on Reddit. Come discuss the show with us. If we like your ideas enough, they might end up part of the story. Keep in mind, we might not always talk about your idea directly on the air, but maybe later because we're going to re-edit some of the stuff, especially seeing how you're hearing the show approximately a month behind. So,
Right. Mm-hmm.
But some of the ideas, if they're really good, we may update the story to add them. So,
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind. We'll see you next time.